ready to hear the big picture, because the only way to experience the full impact of HD is with NBC Sports and Sony HD Audio. Hi, everybody. Bill Weber along with Wally, Dallenbach, and Penny Parsons. Thanks for having us in for the race, one of the most exciting races of the year. 43 drivers trying to go 500 miles, hoping they get the big finish, not the big wreck. And Wally, the big one can start in a variety of fashions.
And probably will. But I'll tell you, walking around the garage here this morning, I really noticed that these guys are beefing up their race cars. There's something called bump drafting, and I think they're going to be slamming more today. We'll have to keep an eye on it. And what you do is you get a line, you follow the guy, you hit him in the bumper, and that helps get him down the racetrack. The problem is if you're not lined up perfect, you can get into a wreck like this. These guys are really going to be aggressive on the bump drafting. And this is probably going to happen, but BP on the racetrack, that's not the only place that you have to dodge bullets.
It's amazing how much trouble these guys will have getting off and on pit road, and while they're on pit road. You know, they're running 190 miles per hour for about 75 miles. Then they've got to slow down to 55 miles per hour to pit road. And what happens is they lock up the brakes. They put flat spots on the tires. Now, if they had decided they're going to change 2 tires, guess what? They flat spot the tire. Now they've got to change 4. And once they make the pit stop, they let the clutch out. They've got to be careful to do that smoothly enough they don't break the drivetrain. And when they leave pit road, they've got to get back on the racetrack as quick as they can to join that big group. If they don't, they're going to get left.
Because they run restrictor plates here, these cars basically run at half the horsepower. That keeps everybody in the same speed. They run around here in one big pack. Let's show you what that looks like. Here's our Home Depot virtual garage, BP. It's all about the draft.
Cars running together because those front cars break the air. The cars behind, they run in that void, and they can run that much faster. And as Wally pointed out, the more cars, the faster you go. And we'll see the cars side by side, nose to tail, 2, 3 wide, all the way throughout the field. You have to draft. It's about 1.5 seconds per lap, or 4 or 5 miles per hour, faster than running by yourself. And
if you get left out of the draft, you're going to have big problems. We saw some guys here opt not to participate in final practice yesterday. Some of these guys will try and find their teammates on the track, but that doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work, and that's the thing. You have to have somebody to work for here at this racetrack. You have to have partners. And you'll hear the term hanging out to dry. You don't want to be in line and all of a sudden go with somebody. They get back in line, and then you're the only guy sticking out there, and that's going to be bad because, like BP says, that's going to be 5 miles per hour slower than the rest of the pack.
It's all about having friends at Talladega. You guys want to be friends?
Yeah, for now.
Okay. Let's go trackside and get the words you've all been waiting to hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gerald D. Bantam, Vice President and Director, UAW National Ford Department, as he gives the most famous words in motorsports. Gentlemen, start your engines!
Team right out of the race. 43 drivers ready to play ball at Talladega, hoping this one is a no-hitter. The green flag from Talladega is next on NBC.
What's the coolest way for people on the move to pay for gas and convenience items? Speed Pass.
Cool. Really cool.
How do we know? We're drivers too. Link Speed Pass to a credit or check card you already use, and you can make one of the cool moves Ryan Newman does.
This week's Nextel Fan of the Week, presented by Sprint, is Renee Hale from Rome, Georgia, and the Hale family is a racing family. Nextel Fan of the Week. Log on to NASCAR.com/Nextel.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Series racing from Talladega is brought to you by Ford F-150. Built Ford tough. By Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Call 1-800-RENT-A-CAR. Pick Enterprise, we'll pick you up. By Bank of America. Higher standards. And by Miller. There's good enough and there's better than it has to be. Miller, good call.
throughout the race today, the story really isn't when the big one happens. The story should be how many times it does not happen. So many cars, so little margin of error. Today in Wally's world, driven by State Farm, how to avoid having a small part in the big wreck.
Welcome to Talladega. Now, all week coming up to Talladega, everybody's talking about the big wreck, because this race is the wild card. You never know what's going to happen, and as a driver, you're hoping one of your buddies doesn't do something dumb. Now, let me tell you how a driver approaches this race and how a driver can avoid the big one. The best plan is, if you have a good race car, sometimes you don't want to show your hand, but at this place, you have to. You want to get out to the front and let the wreck happen behind you. The next plan is, if you're starting near the back or even in the middle, sometimes it's best to drop to the back of the pack and let the wreck happen out in front of you. This way, if you're riding out in the back with your buddies and the wreck happens, you can slow down and you cannot get caught in it. Now, the first race at Daytona in 04, my team owner and teammate, Joe Nemechek, we were in the driver's meeting. We were talking about maybe hanging out with the guys that were going to stop back to the back of the pack and let the wreck happen, and we'll be able to slow down ahead of time. But right before the race started, Joe came up and said, you know what? We got really fast race cars. Let's get to the front and let the wreck happen behind us. Well, we were on our way, and look what happened. Oh, that didn't work out so well. If you're in a wreck here at Talladega, as a driver, you're reacting on what's happening through the windshield. But 9 times out of 10, you're just along for the ride.
How was that ride?
It hurt.
We saw it the next day after that?
Yeah, actually, not as bad as I thought it was. But boy, I saw that wall coming. It was like, this is going to hurt.
Cars out on the track here at Talladega. Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, is the proud sponsor of the Budweiser Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier at each NASCAR and Nextel Cup Series race. And Budweiser congratulates Elliott Sadler on his 3rd pole of 2005. Take a look at the starting grid presented by Harley-Davidson for today's 500-mile race at Talladega. Elliott Sadler on the pole next to his teammate Dale Jarrett.
Back in row 2 on the inside, Ryan Newman. On the outside, Tony Stewart.
Row 3, Bobby Labonte and Joe Nemechek.
Row 4, Scott Riggs and Greg Biffle, one of the contenders in the chase for the championship.
Row 5 on the inside, last week's winner at Dover, Jimmy Johnson. Carl Edwards on the outside.
Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon, 2 strong cars at this race in row 6.
Row 7, Kyle Busch, second a week ago, and Jamie McMurray, who the guys in the garage just think is a threat today.
On the inside of row 8, another Penske car, Travis Kvapil, Sterling Marlin for Chip Ganassi on the outside.
Row 9, Martin Truex Jr., the Bass Pro car, and Jeff Burton alongside.
Row 10, J.J. Yaley and 5-time Talladega winner Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Inside of row 11, Kurt Busch needs to get something going. This would be a great place for a good finish. Robbie Gordon on the outside.
Row 12, Mike Bliss and Mark Martin.
Row 13, you'll find Michael Waltrip and Casey Mears. Both those cars will have to drop to the rear of the field for work on their transmission.
Row 14 on the inside, Brian Vickers. Casey Kane for Ray Evernham on the outside.
Ricky Rudd and Dave Blaney share row 15.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. on the inside of 16. Jeremy Mayfield on the outside.
And as you look at the rest of the starting grid, 43 cars going 500 miles. Michael Waltrip is one of them. Let's see if Wally can get him on the radio.
Hey, Michael, this is Wally in the booth. Can you hear me?
That's Wally. How are you?
Pretty good. Man, your car looked awfully good yesterday in practice, and, you know, you qualified well, but have to drop back with the transmission change. How do you play it now?
Well, I'm just going to observe probably for a few laps, Wally. They're going to be 4 or 5 wide even, and there's just no sense in me trying to get from last up through that while it's like that. I think my car's strong enough to when once they string out a little bit, I'll be able to get some help and get up through there. So watch for the Napa Chevy and the guys back here to just chill out for a few laps.
So you'll just let things settle down. Will you stay back there, you think, through the first pit stop, or will you just let it settle and then pick your way through?
I think I'll be up through there by the time the first pit stop happens, I hope. And again, it has to all develop, Wally. You got to see what happens and follow along and to make your plan off that. One thing for sure, though, I'm not nervous because I'm starting last, and I got the old Aaron's Dream Machine right in front of me. Not a whole lot to worry about back here right now. Check in later. The pulse might go up a little.
Okay, good luck, Michael.